Very good. Now, so that's why the Canada is quite a successful, model in that sense. But yesterday I gave in my talk I mentioned, for example, Israel. Is it a rich country? Huh? Yeah, very rich, right? But how many of you know that Israel? But not just the lobby group, their lobby group is considered the most powerful. Mainly because, Jewish people, very hardworking, very successful community in America. They are in the White House, they're in the State Department, they're in the USAID, they're in the Senate, they're in the Congress, they're everywhere. So they persuade the senators, congressmen, and some of them are senators and congressmen themselves, right? And then they're in the White House. So when they draft the budget, the Foreign Appropriation Committee, they say $2 to $3 billion for Israel. Now every Israeli gets about approximately, if you divide that, $6 million, $3 billion, $500 a year. For rich country like that, they don't need it. But most of the funding is for defense. So if you have people in the government, you can see direct benefits, right? Now, yesterday I also gave another example. World Bank gives low interest rates. Loan with low interest. I'm sorry, yesterday I had Moshe till late. I will not dance for a long time, so my feet is still aching and my joints are still aching. So I'm a little bit off this morning. World Bank used to give, till recently, $2 to $3 billion loan to China. The highest loan at one time, just a few years ago, highest loan given by a World Bank is to China. And China has about $2 to $3 trillion in foreign reserve, one of the highest in the world. They have so much of money in the bank as foreign reserve, but they get the highest low interest rate from World Bank. Now Africa as a continent at one time used to get less loan from World Bank. Now World Bank loan is supposed to meant for poor countries to improve education, to health, infrastructure, so on and so forth. But China manages to get the most. Why? Again, lobbying. They have people in the World Bank, outside the World Bank. That's how they get it. Now, do you think as Tibetan, we deserve more from World Bank or China? Huh? Yes? We deserve, yes or no? Show of hands. We deserve, Tibet deserves more loan from World Bank. Okay. China deserves more from World Bank. No one, huh? That's good. But we get $0 from World Bank. Zero. We don't even qualify. Huh? Yes, we are not done. Yeah. So what it shows is the power of lobbying, a growing system, how to deploy the system, take advantage of the system, or how to persuade the system. Yes? So how many of you want to join World Bank? We need lots of help. Now, United Nations. You all have heard of United Nations? Studied United Nations? Now, United Nations have how many agencies? How many? 15 agencies, of which 3 of the agencies are headed by Chinese officials. Chinese officials. Of the remaining 12, 11 have deputy heads as Chinese officials. United Nations. Now, do we deserve justice or not? And UN is supposed to render justice for people like Tibetans and others, right? But who controls the United Nations? Huh? How? Huh? Because of the economy. Okay, how? Why? Look, what China does, that's why I'm saying we need to be educated, we have to be smart. They take $2 to $3 billion low interest loan from World Bank. $2 to $3 billion, okay? And China gives donation to United Nations $150 million a year. So number one donor to United Nations is America. Number two used to be Japan. Now, number two is taken by China because they increased the loan, the donation funding that they give to $150 million a year. Now, when you give that money, because you are the second largest donor to the United Nations, you get to influence the United Nations. You give demands at the United Nations by saying, I want to give this much money of the 15 agencies to this agency, but I want this agency to be headed by my person. So they distribute the money. But accordingly, they impose their own people. That's how they do. Now, isn't it interesting? $2 to $3 trillion, $2 to $3 billion from World Bank, no interest rate, which actually other countries, Africa or Asia, all countries deserve. They don't get, China gets. But then they just give $150 million. Not even 5% of the loan that is taken from World Bank to the United Nations, they control the United Nations. Why? Highly educated, lobbying, exploiting the system, taking advantage of the system. Yes? Now, Uyghur issue. How many of you know about Uyghur issue? Uyghurs. Muslims? Please raise your hand. Now, America, Canada says there is genocide in Xinjiang. Yes or no? They have passed resolutions. Everybody agrees there is genocide going on in Xinjiang. Now, at the United Nations, there was a resolution tabled or a statement tabled. How many countries supported Uyghurs? How many? How many countries, how many members are there in the United Nations? How many? I want exact. More than 150, everybody can guess. How many? See, I'm a little wrong at this point. I just got it from my bed. 193. Yeah? Check. Yeah, you can Google. I think so. And the two observers, Palestine and Mexican. Right? Of this 193, how many countries voted to agree with this statement that there is, not genocide, gross human rights violation going on in Xinjiang? How many countries agree with that resolution? Now raise your hands. How many should be agreeing? All 193, yes or no? There is genocide, yes, but only 42 agreed. And 150 went against Xinjiang, saying 156, there is no genocide, okay? Not even gross human rights violation going on it. At the United Nations, more countries voted against Xinjiang. Can you believe that? Is this justice? When you're taught at the United Nations is supposed to be impartial, right? There is the justice, you can talk about human rights, you pass resolutions, you condemn the country when there's human rights violations going on. Yes or no? What's going on here? Only 42 countries agreed to issue a statement. Majority, 3 times more, disagreed with the resolution. That's Chinese attempt to shut down the meeting. Again, Chinese lobby. Now, among the 150 countries, majority of Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, where Mecca is, Iran, Iraq, all the Muslim countries. Xinjiang is Muslim, yes or no? Muslim countries voted against Xinjiang. Why? His point is these countries oppose US, so that's why they are opposing the resolution. But the Muslims, your own fellow people are getting killed. On the issue of Palestine. Most of the Muslim countries in the Middle East support there is human rights violation going on in Palestine. Not in Xinjiang. Do you want to know a little more detailed answer? Huh? One is when you say Xinjiang and Muslim, they call themselves East Turkestan. East Turkestan of Turkey. So by race they are Turks, okay? Not Arabs. Understood? The Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, all are Arabs. By race they are slightly different. And historically, if you want to go a little detailed, historically they're a bit different because Turkey used to be the center of Ottoman Empire, which ruled almost all the Arab countries for 7 years. One of the longest empire was Muslim empire, led by Turkey. And the historical, not animosity per se, but element of resentment is there. These people used to, so when it comes to Arab supporting Turks like, Ottoman Empire, a little bit of that, right? And then, otherwise Tunisia, again, Arab there's division. Let's not get into that. Now, but still, Muslim people are getting killed, Muslim mosques are getting destroyed, Imams are in prison. In Xinjiang, you can't name your child Muhammad or all these Muslim names. But Arab countries say, no, we are not going to vote for the resolution. We support China. Again, business. They were most of the gas and oil from Middle East and the independent. And not just that, all these Arab countries, if you go by subcontinents, most likely, Arab subcontinent supports Chinese regime the most. Why? Not just now. Because most Arab countries are not democratic. Are kingdoms, ruled by families. And they like the Chinese one-party system rule. And they all import Chinese surveillance technology. The way China controls its own population, they like the system. So they buy it from China. So that's how. They are very, what do you call, close knit. So when it comes to Muslim, actually, they should be supporting. There's an interview of Pakistan's former Prime Minister, Imran Khan. Right? Have you seen that interview? Someone goes and says, okay, you talk about Kashmir all the time. Human rights violation in Kashmir is, but what about Xinjiang? In fact, worse kind of human rights violations is going on in Xinjiang. He says, well, I don't want to talk about this thing. These are two different issues. What's the topic? He's a Muslim guy complaining about human rights violation of Muslim fellows, but he's the one who talked about other issues. So that's much of influence of Chinese government. The tentacles are everywhere in the United Nations. Now, Tibetans, we have not been able to even table a resolution. We passed one resolution at United Nations Subcommission on Human Rights in 1990, 2000, 2010, 2020, 30-some years. We have not even able to pass a simple resolution that is not even binding that human rights violation is going on in Tibet. Why? China is that powerful. Now with Chinese everywhere, in the World Bank, in Arab countries, in the United Nations, in the Canadian government too. Do you agree? Absolutely. Some of your former prime ministers, I don't want to name names, yes, they are, in fact, I don't want to say lobbyists, one of very good friends of Chinese government. Now, I've been to Australia many times. Australia is now it has shifted, it's changed. If you make efforts, you can change things. Australia used to be, I don't want to say dominated, but Chinese government had major influence in Australia. And for example, their foreign minister, their trade ministers, okay, they used to make deals with Chinese government. And after the deal is made, the minister leaves and becomes the director of the same company. I know a former trade minister is getting $880,000 a year from a Chinese company. One premier, like getting a premier of a regional state of Australia is what, it's a host of a major event funded by a Chinese government. Just a host is the anchor, because what he gets, $500,000 a year. I mean, I have names. I've been through all this, and Australia got alarmed. They did research, and finally they found out that in Australia, for 30 years, almost 50 to 60% of Chinese students studying engineering in various Australian universities were paid and sent by PLA, People's Liberation Army. Chinese Army used to fund and send Chinese students to major Australian universities to study engineering. Australia got shocked. They got shocked. Why? My goodness, we thought we were bringing normal Chinese students to study here. They study, they learn all know-how. In fact, they penetrated inside China, the Australian companies, and then they go back. And that's why China has advanced so much. They're not just bare factories now, bare manufacturing companies. They manufacture now television, right? They also manufacture what? They also build nuclear plants now. They're building planes, missiles, on their own. How? They stole, they bought, they learned all the know-how from Australia or Germany, America, UK, by sending the students. So not only they are penetrating inside the United Nations with the officials, but they're penetrating various universities around the world, including Canada, to learn, go back and build their own. So it's a major debate in Australia, and there was a change now. So in fact, it is very funny that when I used to go talk to these people later, after a few years, one member of parliament did further research and found out that Chinese business people, they buy huge land in Australia for food, for meat, produced meat and food. And then they found out that whatever they produce is shipped, transported. What do you need? For that you need all the trucks. But the transportation companies are also owned by Chinese. And along the way, what you need is cold storage, where you store this thing. Otherwise, it gets spoiled. And then they send it to the ship, and they transport it to China. They found out the whole thing, the village, trucks, cold storage, to shipping, everything is controlled by Chinese. The Australians didn't know what is going on in their own, the governor didn't know, or the premier didn't know what is happening in his own state, because everything is controlled from A to Z by Chinese business people. So all this, we gave a big debate. So that's how they control. Now, they took advantage of this, what they call this $1 million visa and student's visa. Australia used to give, the student's visa, and if you stay in Australia for 3 or 4 years, you get automatic residencies. Who was the first one to take advantage? Chinese. Australia has 20, I think if I'm not mistaken, 20 million population. Of which 1 million are Chinese, meaning 5% of Australia's population are Chinese now, in the last 30 years. So now if there is an election, 5% can influence a lot, yes or no? Yeah. So now Australia is realizing that. In fact, when the government makes an announcement on ABC, Australian Broadcasting Corporation, TV, the Chinese people in Chinatown, they don't get to hear. In fact, they know more about the Chinese government policies than the Australian government policies. Because the Chinese television, Chinese newspaper, Chinese radio, in all these communities are bought and controlled by Chinese business people supporting Chinese government. Why I'm saying this is,
it is also happening in Canada. I don't want to name names. Recently, some newspapers, I've read the news accounts, certain candidates lost election because in that area of Chinatown, they prefer the other candidate. And the influence came through Chinese forces. So now we all are Tibetans. Yes or no?
Yes.
How many of you have identity crisis? I've received, sometimes I help, I write recommendations for students. They say, but can you help me? I'm very confused. I said, why are you confused? I said, who am I? I'm born in America. My friends are Asians and Hispanic and African Americans, and we are minorities. And then I'm more Asian American, I have very few Tibetans, and so I said, I don't know, who am I? Do you go through this? No? Very few though. Some of you do, yeah? Maybe those who come to this group, they don't feel like that. But often we go through this. Because you go to your class, all your friends are Asians, and then you have to talk generic Asian issues. I can't say, I'm Tibetan, I hate Chinese. You can't say that, right? Your friends might get offended. You will have Chinese friends, right? And then, you have to kind of, not self-censor, but tone down who you are to blend in with other Asian friends. Yes or no? You do that. Yeah? Or do you say, oh, I'm wearing Tibetan flag, I am Tibetan, be my friends, that's your choice, Take it or leave it. Do you do that? Huh? No, because your generations are very polite, very extra sensitive, Yes or no? Politically correct. Yeah? Oh, she's Tibetan. Oh, she's Chinese. I better not say something offensive. But then you just said you are not confused. You are Tibetan. If you are Tibetan, you should say, I am Tibetan. But you didn't do that, no? Now, our generation is very clear. I am Tibetan first. If there's a pyramid, I am Tibetan first, right? Then Asian, maybe I affiliate more with Indians among the Asians, Then I'll go down the list and Asian, then minority, then American, like that. That's how I think. Is that better? Or you put Asian American first? Huh? Tibetan talk? I don't know. You all join Asian American clubs. Yes or no? You run for position in the Asian American clubs. Yeah? But you should do that though. You should run Asian American clubs. You are Tibetan, you are Asian, yeah, you deserve to be there. Through that, you should land there. Now, so we not only, I don't want to come here and say human rights violation is going on in Tibet, Tibetans are suffering, that we all know that. But the challenges that we face are right here in Canada, right here at the United Nations, World Bank, any international community we go to. Now, America is biggest supporter of Tibet, yes or no, politically? Yeah? Or is it Canada? Huh? Canada or US?
Yes.
Politically, either. Okay. Politically, US. Let's say US first. Okay. Let's take US. Now, I served as CCOM for 10 years. Yes? But I was not allowed to enter the State Department, their foreign office, for 10 years. America is the biggest supporter of Tibet. Nancy Pelosi, the Honorable Speaker, biggest supporter of Tibet. Yes? But they didn't allow me to enter the State Department. Forget the White House. For 10 years, because they said, you are a Tibetan, you are not a government, we don't recognize you. And in 1970s, when President Nixon went to China and Kissinger went, they made a deal, right, to support China, agree with one China policy. So, to us, you are nobody. But I said, I want to meet. Okay, we will meet with you. Where? Cafeteria, Starbucks, basement of a hotel. Literally. At one time, I met some State Department staff at a reception counter because there were two sofas right in front of the hotel reception.
I met them. Because what they wanted was plausible deniability. This is very, some people be very useful. They wanted plausible deniability. They want to deny that they ever met me. To do that, they say, oh, I happened to go to hotel to check in. Oh, there was someone sitting there, I sat next to the sofa and just talked to him. He happened to be Sikh of Tibetan people. Oh, I went to Starbucks for my white chocolate mocha, my favorite. I was waiting in line. I saw this funny guy and just sat next to him, talked to him. Oh, he happens to be Sikh. They want to deny that they ever met me. So when we used to drink coffee also, he said, you pay your own, I pay mine. Because I can't pay for you. The State Department doesn't allow me to pay for you. Now, if you go to, on the one hand, if you were there yesterday's event, right? 1,000 Tibetan came and they say, oh, Sikh, and they sing all the songs that boost your ego, and it's, oh, maybe I'm somebody. And I go to Washington, D.C., nobody. Now, how will you deal with this? If you're told, yes, I'll meet with you, come to the basement of a hotel. How will you deal with that? Does it hurt your ego? Yes or no? Yes. Do you want to hear more sad stories like that, or do you want to hear uplifting stories? Okay, a few sad stories. Okay, I was meeting, scheduled to meet Speaker of the Parliament. It's a big deal. Speaker of the Parliament, big deal. And I was like, suited, booted, fine, everything. And it's in Europe. Okay, I didn't speak the language also. So I picked up a newspaper. I can't read the newspaper. It's in European language. But I watch TV. I can't understand. But I was in the lobby. I'm ready to go. Phone came saying, Speaker, I'm with you. Cancel. What will you do for that hour, 1 hour break you have? Nothing to do. You can't read the newspaper because it's in European language. You can't watch TV. You just had your 2 coffees now. And you can't have 3rd coffee, right? 1 hour, what will you do? You just, because I'm Tibetan, because I'm a refugee, because I run a government exile, this is how I'm treated. So should I feel very sad and say, it's hopeless, doesn't matter, I tried, I'm here, they don't want to meet me, I'll back up and go. Will you think like that? Some of you might. Some people are not even, no, it's not that easy, okay? You be in that chair. Then I get up and say, okay, no problem. Right? I'll try the next meeting. Next meeting was with the chairman of the committee. 10 a.m., phone comes, 10 a.m. to a meeting. What will you do? Okay, lunch with 3 members of parliament. And they said, I think 11 members of parliament, lunch. I said, okay, 11 members of parliament, lunch good. When I went for the lunch, only 3 turned up. 8 refused because the leaders of the various parties told them not to go meet with me. I had 3 MPs. So the whole day passes like that. What will you do? Do you think it's easy to be Sikh? Some might say, oh, it's so fancy, wow, he sings and dances, so yeah, so cool. But deep down, all hurts him. Yeah? You go through this. Everywhere. So I went to South Africa, Cape Town. I was invited by this law school, and we chose outside of Cape Town, private law school. Very well known. Civil rights movement factions. Okay, known for that legacy. I went to that law school to give a talk. As I landed, Chinese embassy had hired 100+ migrant workers. They stormed the stage, they stormed the auditorium, chased out all the teachers and students who were involved. They went on stage with banners saying, get out of South Africa. Physically shouting now. Now, the university had to scramble and hire 10 or 12 bodyguards, security people with automatic machine guns. Because there are 100 people who have like, 10 or so, all together, faculty members and all that. How will you feel? 100 people roaming around, in the compound of university. How will you feel? What will you do at that time? Now you are told, they whisper and say, more than 100 migrants
storm the campus, they're looking for you. What will you do? What will you do? What a suggestion here, yeah. Former TYC. So I said, and I told the dean and the professor, look, anytime you're going to cancel the event, you can cancel the event. Because I don't want to put your life and your health at risk. But if you give me a choice, I still want to speak. Find me a classroom, get any number of students and teachers they want to come, I want to meet with them. First, I must give them the choice. I can't say I want to do this, you should do it yourself. So I said, okay, we'll do it. So they sent a note, an email, and finally I got another room. Right? I went, and maybe half the students or more turned up, and I gave a talk. Yeah. And they gave me standing ovation, partly because they felt bad for me, not that I spoke well. And while I was walking out, I could see, as I was coming, I could see, at the door, from the glasses, they're like, all the migrant workers are there, including Chinese, shouting. Literally, now, there's no way I can, what do you call it, not get close to, that's the only door, right in front, they're shouting. What will you do? Literally shouting, screaming. So as they opened the door, I could see they have these Chinese-made cameras at me. And they said, oh my goodness, 6 million Tibetans. Our reputation is at stake here. So as I came out, they were literally shouting, I don't know what they're saying, obviously, nasty things in Chinese, So what I did, I gave a peace sign. Gave a big smile. As I walked towards the car, camera going on, I gave a peace sign and a smile. Because next day, I didn't want a photograph of Sikyong running, just shouting at me, I'm doing like this and running, And they'll be very happy, they'll splash it, just look at this guy running away, right? But literally when you see, at that time, like 30, 40 people were there. So sometimes you get this last minute challenges, right like that. You have to think. So leadership, because I'm supposed to talk about leadership, many facets. Right here, University of Toronto, Shimi over there, others were there organizing it. University of Toronto, 50 or 60 Chinese students came with Chinese flags, singing national anthem outside the auditorium where I was speaking. What will you do? Nudge them a bit. Get out of here, get out. You want to get in. What will you do? So I was inside, I gave a talk. Then later, yes, obviously our students were quite riled up. They said, my goodness, the Chinese are doing it. And I said, why don't you invite some of them inside during Q&A? Let's have interaction. So I think 10 or so came. And we had interaction, discussion. And some of them were applauding later, because our point of view is quite reasonable. Sometimes we can, just chase them away and say, they're Chinese, they're shouting at us, let's not talk to them. No, we must talk to them. Because truth is on our side. If you talk to them, often you can convince them. Not all the time, not all of them, but often you can. So that's the strength of a movement. Okay? So when you see Chinese, of course deep down you are hurt. Now you are often angry also. But you must say, I must talk to them. I must convince them. And if you convince them, that's a victory for you. When you talk to them, it's a victory for you. You're winning actually, you know that? Because you're making them listen to you. You must take it that way. Not that you run away from it. If you run away from it, they want you to run away. And Chinese government, they want you to run away from Chinese students and Chinese people. Because less you talk to them, less you will convince them. That means there will be less people in China who will know about Tibet, and they will support you. And then at Harvard, I organized 7 major conferences between Chinese scholars and Tibetan scholars and Western scholars. Track 3, diplomacy. From all over China, top scholars used to come. Because we have to have this dialogue. So what else do you want to know? So it's not that easy, huh? And often people say, last time I was, sometimes I give a talk on leadership. They ask me, how do you, leadership in crisis, that was the topic. Leadership in crisis, how to handle crisis if you're a leader. And I said, well, if you want to be a leader, you better handle crisis. That's what they elect you for. If you're not able to handle crisis, you should not be a leader. It's pure and simple. They were like, stop, what are you talking about? Leadership and crisis. That's what it's for. You are needed when there's a crisis, when there's a challenge. Otherwise, you're not needed. Anyone can solve the issue. So if you want to be a leader, crisis management is key. And you must accept that while being a leader, there will be a crisis, and the issue is how you handle it. And there will always be crisis, there will always be conflicts, there will always be challenges. And then the best lesson I learned is that as long as it's like a container, as long as you can put the tension and the challenge and all these things within the container, it's okay. Again, sometimes you say, as a leader, I must solve problem. Not necessarily. As a leader, you cannot solve all the problems. But if you can contain the problem within a certain domain, that it doesn't get out of control, it's okay. Now, coming to your topic, I'll end with that. How to handle division in the Tibetan community. On the one hand, you can look at it from micro level or a macro level. If you look at it from micro level, it's painful. My goodness, this person is saying this person is saying that, this person is doing this person is doing that. Look at all the comments, right? Nasty ones. Yes or no? On a daily basis, it's hurtful. Yes? You get angry, you get riled up. How can Pheva Chikpa say this and that? Yes or no? But it's part of the process. If you look at it from macro angle, if you look at 60 years of Tibetan government exile, I wrote my dissertation on Tibetan government exile. Okay, I've studied for 50 years. We always get excited every 10 years. Something will happen. Major division, major debate, and we go down and we come back. And after 10 years again, we have this one major issue. Everybody talks about it, everybody bicker about it, then after 10 years we've forgotten, we come up. We've been going through this roller coaster. And that's very normal in any society. It's very normal life. Sometimes when you are in it, the impact is greater. Right? You get angry, you get sad, you get painful. Why don't we get along? We all are Tibetans. But we all are human beings first. And human beings don't get along. That's what we've been fighting for generations. Yes or no? Human beings, we've been fighting all the time. World War First, Second World War, 30 years war in Europe, 60 years war. My goodness, we've been fighting all the time. In Tibet too, we've been fighting all the time. You read history of Tibet. Yeah, they kill each other for grassland, they kill each other for Yatsogumbo, even now. They kill each other for small things all the time. We do it all the time. It's just a matter of focusing on it, But, what we're going through is something very simple. We go through it all the time. And then, if I make a shallow point, that's why I said, we need to really get ourselves good education, good exposure, so we become a really sophisticated leaders now. Sophisticated leaders. Otherwise, if you just, get yourself stuck in the Tibetan community, if you just go through that cycle only, if you don't have international perspective, outside perspective, then you get bogged down. You get bogged down. You must come out of it. And you must understand that every movement, every freedom struggle goes through it. You just read of Martin Luther King. He went through a lot of struggles with him. Civil rights movement. You read about Gandhi, India's freedom movement. Gandhiji, everybody knows Gandhiji, right? He went through a lot of problems. Of course, Gandhiji is called the father of India, Indian nation. Yes? Yeah? But actually, actually read history of freedom movement, Gandhiji was somewhat sidelined by 1930s. Yeah, he was sidelined. He didn't have power. Ultimately, he wanted Jinnah to be the Prime Minister of India. He told Nehru to give the position to him so that Pakistan and India can be one, united India. That was his goal, that was his vision, Gandhiji. But no one listened. Nehru became Prime Minister of India, and partition happened. Jinnah became Prime Minister of Pakistan. And what was Gandhiji doing on the day of India's independence? Do you know? Huh? He was sitting on hunger strike in the neighborhood of Calcutta, Muslim neighborhood Calcutta, saying, you guys didn't listen to me, now we're killing each other. So Gandhiji was helpless and powerless in 1947. So, we all know what Gandhiji, that's why I gave you an example of Gandhiji, okay? If you want to know about Martin Luther King, if you want to know Nelson Mandela, right? He was also sidelined. All the great leaders, they go through this. All the societies, they go through this. Martin Luther King gave a speech of, I have a dream, and then civil rights movement succeeded. No, he went through all, civil rights movement go up and down, up and down. They went through a roller coaster. So as long as you manage it now, there will be some divisions, there will be some debate, there will be some emotions in every society. As long as you manage it, as long as you contain it within a certain domain, you don't let it get out of control, then we'll pass through it. We'll come to the other side. And Tibetans, in shallow sense, we just copy things. Our ideas are not original. People talking about regionalism, sectarianism now, if you closely follow them, they're actually imitating someone. They're very good at copying. We're not originals. When you copy, there's no depth. Look at the debate. Do you see any depth in the debate? No. Do you see great idea in the debate that is going on in the Tibetan society? Huh? Nothing. Right? Scotland. Who is the national hero of Scotland? Huh? William Wallace, because you have watched the movie Braveheart. No. I think Scott Walter, great writer. He wrote about beauty of Scottish tradition, the countryside, okay? About the food, custom, everything. And he made it so romantic. It became so popular, his books. Even the English started reading. British people. Then they said, my goodness, Scottish are not backward. Scottish are not stupid. They are so rich. One writer. Many books convince British people that Scotland is a great country. Scotland has a great civilization culture. One writer. He is the national hero, not William Wallace. Of course, William Wallace fought bravely, and he said freedom when he was able to die. All that is true. I've been to the museum, and he was sentenced to death as a traitor. But centuries later, if you go to the Parliament of UK, William Wallace is called a patriot on the floor of the Parliament of the United Kingdom. See, traitor by UK government at one time. It's a patriot recognized by UK government, but he's not necessarily the biggest contributor of Scotland. And what I'm trying to say is, if we can get one writer, Tibetan writer, like Scott Walker, write books about Tibet in Chinese language, convince the Chinese how rich our tradition is, how rich our civilization is, how rich our literature is. Write in such a way the Scottish felt very proud of who they are, who they were. British started respecting Scottish people. Now, what we need is Tibetans like that. Not only you will write, you will make yourself, you will make our community feel proud. And you will convince Americans and Canadians and Chinese that we are actually great. One writer can do that. One leader can do that. And I can see among you, not just writers and leaders. That's how you should think. To think like that, you should be always positive, more optimistic. I always say this, people sometimes ask me this. Oh, there are so many criticisms about you on a daily basis. It's true, you open your Facebook, how many criticisms there are about me? How many memes? So many, right? Wonderful, so many, right? How do I get by? You can always have glass half full or half empty. I'm half full all the time. There are so many things I say, forget it. It doesn't affect me. I go about my own. So if you think positive, if you ignore all the noises, right, then you can go where you want to go. Because it took me 10 years to enter the State Department of America. It took me 10 years to enter the White House of America. But I kept banging the door all the time. I always say this. When I meet with the State Department, White House people, I say, why are you meeting outside? I mean, show some respect, because I'm suddenly become friendly. So, what is this? Why do you have to meet outside all the time? In cafeteria, in restaurant, in a hotel, lounge, and why? They said, no, because you are government exile. I said, don't give me the rubbish. Syria, after the war, former government exile. They have already entered the State Department. Please, don't tell me this. Venezuela, they former government exile. I said, they have already entered the State Department. Why? There's so many government exiles that have entered the State Department. Now, because I know these things, I can tell them. And they're like, wow, I can't defend my position. Then after some we go very friendly, they say, we're embarrassed, lobsang. We know, we're trying hard. So agency after agency, I convince them, win them over. 9 interagencies within the State Department had a debate to allow me or not. 9. And over 10 years, 1, 2, I convinced 8 agencies to make me allow me to enter the State Department. 8 agencies. 1 didn't agree. It was East Asian division, the China division. So I was actually enter the State Department in the November of 2018. Tomorrow, 9:30, I was enter. Everybody agreed. Last minute at 5 o'clock, the what they call EAP, East Asian Program, objected. And because I had so many friends, someone actually went to meet the Secretary of State to say 8 agencies have agreed to allow Sikyong to enter the State Department. Why don't we do this? And Secretary of State said, well, I would leave the bureaucrat or the bureaucracy to decide. So he didn't overrule bureaucracy. I couldn't enter. But then it took me like 2 years later, October of 2020, I entered the State Department. Now, if I've been thinking negatively, I'm a Tibetan, I'm nobody, I'm Canadian, I'm Asian American, my grades are poor, so many struggles in life, then you just give up. You will not bang the door for 10 years just to enter the State Department and the White House. I mean, in some ways it's insulting, don't you think so? Yeah? You come suited and booted, you look as good as others, and you just go and say, hey, meet me at Starbucks. Oh, sorry, Tim Horton, yeah? Double sugar, double milk, eh? Yeah. So, you have to be always be optimistic and hopeful that you can do it. So all the criticism that comes, again, as a leader, you must accept. One thing I learned is criticism. It will come. It's part of your job. And then the biggest lesson, the Solomon says, the strength of a leader is what? Not hatred, but compassion. It's actually true. Now, if you have a hatred and anger within you, someone criticizes you, you get angry, you have hatred, then it kills you. You get stressed, you get very angry, you don't eat food well, you don't sleep well, tomorrow you are groggy, and the next day you're more angry. After a week, you lost weight, and you're like, what the hell is happening? Where am I? Like a zombie, But rather, if you have compassion in your heart, let them say what they want. It's okay. You sleep well, you eat well, you get it better. And he already said, actually compassion is the biggest tool to defeat your enemy. Because they say, look at logically. They always get very excited. Look at logic. Enemy wants to provoke you, make you angry, make you defeat. Huh? So if he provokes you, you get angry. Enemy is very happy. Wow, I said something nasty thing. He's all riled up now, right? And then tomorrow you're all riled up and you're more angry and you say something, something stupid and it's just blown out of proportion, social media, everybody makes meme about it, everybody criticizes you and you're more angry, and after something you bust out saying something nasty, right? The enemy is like, gotcha, I got it. Yeah? For compassion, he says nasty things, smile. My God, I said something very nice. He said, more nasty thing. Maybe smile. My God, I'm better to say, let me gang up. Let me get 100 people, 1,000 people to say nasty thing against him. More smile. And you walk tall. What do we do? My goodness, let's do something dramatic. Let's have a protest. Shame him. They will protest. And I said, thank you very much for the protest. That's your freedom of speech. Thumbs up. What the hell, man? They go back and say, what the hell happened? You were so angry. You went to protest against it. What did you do? And what did he say? He was thanking us. What? Yeah. I was saying, oh, so maybe we should take a hammer and bang him, You win. Yes? Compassion is an effective tool, right? When someone says a nasty thing to you, what do? Smile. More nasty? Show your teeth. Yeah? And sometimes give them a wave also. Give them a thumbs up. Like in South Africa, Cape Town, when the actually challenge came up, within a minute, I said victory, smile. I give the Tibetan smile. Whole samba came out, So you have to be always optimistic and positive. There, the emotional intelligence nowadays is a big thing, right? Leadership, they teach you all kinds of tactics and tricks, but the emotional part, they would teach you. That Tibetan Buddhism actually teach you the best. Mindfulness, mind. Very important. Actually, we have better resources to be a leader. Emotional intelligence, mindfulness. We Tibetans, I've attended all kinds of leadership workshops and training, okay, at Harvard, the top, the best, I've listened to all of them. Always there's something missing. That's the compassion part, that's the emotional part. That we have much richer, much deeper, much more vast, much more resourceful than any training or leadership. So, we all are born leaders. We can be the best leaders actually. The balanced part. Emotional, compassionate, kind, but also effective, resourceful, forceful. You have to be both, huh? But you should balance. We have that actually. Okay? So you all can lead, huh? Leading is not that difficult. But it's a lonely place. Because once you make a decision, blame is on you. And then you can't blame it on anyone else. So it's pretty lonely out there. Don't think it's, all this fancy-dancy, okay? But even a small issue can affect you, A mother comes and says, my husband died, and he was the breadwinner. And I have 3 kids, I don't know what to do. I have to take out all my children from school because I can't pay fees. And I might lose my house. And it's Tibetan, you want to do something, it's very painful. But if you do one, it's not that easy. Because there will be like 10 others, 100 others. Then you have to create a project, you have to create a system, rules and regulation, then you have to go about implementing it. So it's not that easy, okay? But it's doable. The challenges are many. Now, if you're CTA Sichong, you can enter the State Department. Because why? For 10 years I banged the door, now the door is open. White House, open. Canada too. Actually, I used to make fun of State Department. I said, I just came from Ottawa. I can enter the Foreign Office of Canada. Why can't I enter the Foreign Office of America? Yeah, Canada used to allow me to enter the Foreign Office, but we never publicized it. There are so many meetings I have had we don't publicize. So Canada was good. Yeah, Canada do that. Yeah, why don't you talk to your counterpart in Canada? Yeah, so Canada is way ahead, huh? Compared to Americans. Foreign aid, yeah, 5 million Canadian dollars for the first time. Even in Canada, I was told, Canada had given $0 to Tibetan community for 50 years. So when I first came, I said, we should get funding. No, it's not possible. Tibetan thinking, we all talk about compassion, charity, and all that, right? But actually, we were quite pessimistic. Why? 50 years, we never got a penny. So they will not give you. But we went, actually. We got the funding. I think $3 million, I think. Then later, again, renewed. So it's possible all the time, okay? So leadership, be positive, optimistic, always fight, be compassionate, be kind, and you can get through it, okay? Division in the society, yeah, micro level, you get disturbed, but you must always have a macro level. As a Buddhist, you're always told to look at from third dimension, not just other side, okay? Third dimension. This is very interesting. So I didn't know about this third dimension. You know, you always say, okay, why don't you look at from other side, right? In leadership, you always, why don't you look at from other? Why don't you look at third dimension? Because I used to be, you know, in Dharamsala, Kanji Kishong, right? Whole Megalurgan, right? Some of you have been there. So I always used to be, you know, you always say, okay, this is Megalurgan, this is Kanji Kishong. So I went to the other side of the mountain once and looked at Kanji Kishong, the whole Dharamsala. I was like, wow, this is perhaps third dimension, looking at it from a different angle. Because it's just the other side of the mountain, okay? It's still mountain. There are trees, barely roads, few houses, nothing. So his Holiness happened to live on the other mountain. The whole town has come. On the other mountain, same mountain of Dharamsala, just the other side, no one is there. And then Kanji Kishong and whole Megalurgan looks very small from the other side. So what? You know, all concrete buildings, it looks ugly also. So the third dimension, the Buddhist element, you don't look at one angle, second angle, third angle. So it's all there in Buddhism. Okay, so all you need to do is be proud of who you are as a Tibetan, be patriot, and learn, know yourself who you are. Tibetan history, Buddhism, you must learn. You'll be a great leader, and you will lead, and you will succeed where we failed. Okay? With that, thank you very much. Tuchena.
We'll start our Q&A session, so if anyone has any question, it's open. Please just raise your hand and I'll come with mic.
Hello, Krishna. And toward the beginning, great Ashani, Bebe Jiso, Bebe Shungi to Shundan Chapsi Nam Jushuk Never. Jizo la Shabdik Chenbu Shuyu Gokab Shen Yue.
Actually, you know, there was a survey done of youth in Toronto, mainly in Toronto, in North America, but mainly in Toronto. She's not here, I don't see her here. And then in that survey, she asked this question: do you know about CTA? And do you know this about Tibet? And to my disappointment, 67% of Tibetans in youth in Toronto didn't know about CTA. Partly because it could be because it's written CTA, not Central Tibetan Administration. Partly because not many people understand CTA because they understand it's a government exile. But to say not to know CTA, but 67%, if not 77%, very hard. And then those who go to Dharamsala also, majority, even Tibetans, they go to Negroganj, they don't go to Kanjiki, the CTAs. So have you been to Dharamsala? Yes. Did you see Tibetan community? Oh, where is it? Oh, I don't know, you know. So, you must make efforts. Wow. And then, yes, if you want to serve in CTA, you should. It's very good experience. You will know your roots if you go there. Because I have met many Tibetans from Canada, America, Europe, everywhere. Once they get there, they say after a few months, they say, wow, I feel so Tibetan here because all the Tibetans are here, we talk in Tibetan language, we talk about Tibet all the time. I feel so Tibetan. And that's missing. You're in Canada, you're always struggling. All your classmates and schoolmates are not Tibetan. Maybe there's one or two schools where the 10 Tenzins are studying, you know. Other than that, no. But if you don't play the same video game, even Tenzins don't talk to each other also, right? Yeah. Even same video game, but if the level is different, you don't play games. So, you know, I know some schools, they don't do that, right? Roblox, I play too. Among Us, I play too, yeah. I listen to BTS also, okay? Yeah, Drake too. Dua Lipa, Limitation, my favorite. I make my moves when she sings. As I said, you know, if you can go to Dharamsala, the best. I think so. Because work is not just work in the office, not just experience. The emotion part is you get from Shijab, is where you get from Mombasa, is where you get from Manaris. Emotion part. So we must connect emotionally. The disadvantage you all have, because you all are born and brought up in Canada, the emotional part is missing. Because we went to Tibetan, you know, Vishnu. We get enough dosage of emotion all the time. We're reminded, oh, dear Dali, Tilmo Dali, all the time. Whatever, you know, yeah, all that, right? And Shijab. That is missing. So you have better education, you have better exposure, you have better skills actually. You are more talented than us. The emotion part, you must get it from somewhere. And Bala, we all know that we don't listen to Bala. Right? When a stranger says something, makes sense. You know, you say, Bala, you know something very sensible. I've been telling you that for the last 10 years, you never listen, you know. So you just block that part, right? So you should go somewhere, and Dharamsala, Shijab, Nepal, you must get that emotional part, okay? And then work, then you can work in Canada, Canadian government, British government, anywhere. Canada has good opportunity actually, very good opportunities. Because here, if you run for office, you don't need much money. In America, if you want to run if you want to be president of America, you better have $1 billion for political campaign. $1 billion. If you want to be a senator, you better have $50 million, if not $100 million, if you have a large big states. If you want to run for a House of Representatives, you better have at least $5 million, if not $10 or $20 million. Money. That's why in America, 90% of senators get re-elected. Outsiders have no chance. House, 80% of the House, they get re-elected because we have more money. As an incumbent, you have more money. So as a House, if you want to be a House representative, you must spend 5 hours a day asking for money, making phone calls. So in Canada, it's cheap. Yeah. You should run, okay? And make us proud.
Thank you. Thank you for a meaningful question, Randullah, to the chair. Oh, we have another question here. Please pass.
Hello. On my way here, I had a question, but after hearing you talk, I wanted to ask a different question. So in your talk, you're talking about censorship and political correctness. So I think everybody here, I can't speak for everyone, but for the most part, because we're in a Tibetan community, when we talk about Tibetan issues, we're very safe, because when we say things like there's human rights violations going on, everybody will agree with us. For the leadership program, like when we go into the real world, we need to be aware that, like you said, all these spaces in the world, they're dominated by Chinese authorities. So in order to be a leader, we need to be successful in education, in the workplace as well. Basically, in our day-to-day life, I just wanted to know your opinion, how important it is to be vocal about Tibetan issues in an authentic way without censoring ourselves.
Yes. Now, in the real world, you have to be practical. You better check who's the boss, right? So, and it's a fact. In fact, you know, Ennis Cantor was here, the master was there, right? He was outspoken, he was thrown out of NBA, disappointingly by Boston Celtics, you know. It's a real world, actually. The basketball players, you know, they get millions of dollars of endorsement from shoes and all that. And many of them manufacture in China, and China has a big market. So they toe the line. And Hollywood, right? So at one time we used to have 7 years in Tibet, Kundun, Brad Pitt, they used to act, right? Now Doctor Strange, right? How many of you have watched the movie Doctor Strange? Actually, the main lady was supposed to be a monk. It's based on Tibetan, what we call character, the magical power. Now they changed it to a Western, you know, woman, you know, nun-looking type, you know. So there are many episodes where even Hollywood are bending towards Chinese money. So these are all facts. Having said that, now in the last 2 years, there's dramatic changes. With over 10 years of my service, first 5 years was a struggle. All those I told you about, the speaker cancelling the meeting, all this kind of thing. China was so influential, so powerful. In the last 2 years, what has changed is, number one, because of COVID, image of China has dipped. Right? Number one. Number two, with all these Confucius Institute, you know, thanks to SFT and all our supporters, they lobbied, they fought, Confucius Institutes are getting shut down. The credibility is affected. And number three, what they call China's foreign policy, very aggressive foreign policy called wolf warriors. They are not politically correct. They criticize America, Europe, everybody. Right? Now, the rest of the world are finding it too aggressive, and there's a dislike. So all these things are changing the image of China. And the reality is right here in Canada. 5 years ago when I came, the Pew Research Survey, you know, you must study that. Pew Research used to have 65% favorable view of China 5 years ago. 65%. I was really surprised during President Trump's time, actually. The rating in Canada was higher for Xi Jinping than Trump. Of course, there's a reason. But how can you rate Chinese leader higher than American leader? I mean, for us, it's like, you know, unbelievable. But that was the fact even in Canada. But last 2 years, has flipped. Now, same Pew Research survey, right? Because of two John or Michael case and Huawei case, it has flipped. Now Canada has, I think, almost 70% negative view of China. And because of that, even Hollywood now. Did you watch the Tom Cruise movie Maverick? Top Gun? Yeah? So when it was supposed to release 3 years ago, there was a big controversy because Tom Cruise wears jackets, right? Which had flag of Taiwan. So in the initial release of the trailer, the flag of Taiwan was missing 3 years ago because the movie was supposed to be 3 years ago. Because of COVID, it got delayed. In the latest actual release of the movie, Taiwan's flag is back. The Top Gun is not released in China. Because now the Hollywood is also seeing China as a smaller market. So much censorship, so much trouble. And Top Gun has made more money outside of China than inside of China. Now Hollywood also realization. Otherwise you might have seen even in RAM, right, there's a Chinese models walking, and Hollywood side actors, so many Chinese, right? Most of the producers were Chinese. What's the biggest the owner of movie theaters? Wangkara. You know, the Hollywood chain used to be owned by Chinese. Now he also sold it, thanks to COVID. movies did very badly, theaters did very badly, and he sold it. So Hollywood influence, commercial influence is decreasing, political influence is decreasing. But there's a bit of a backlash. And I don't want to say this, but because of war in Ukraine, Europe used to have autonomous foreign policy, meaning away from America. China wanted that. But because of Ukraine now, Europe is united on Ukraine and dependent on America, right? Now Europe doesn't have quote-unquote autonomous foreign policy, but policy which reflects America's foreign policy, at least on Russia. But on China, it's not that clear, but they have not renewed the major trade agreement they are supposed to sign with China and Europe. It's not been fully dumped, but been postponed indefinitely. So realization in Europe. So things are changing. Right? So you must look at the environment where could be our voice could be more vocal than the Chinese in the room because of credibility gap. So yes, we have to be as politically correct as possible, but don't compromise. Because when I was a student doing my doctorate degree, my program was East Asian Studies program. So all the Chinese used to come there. And yeah, I used to have debate all the time with them. Sometimes we had shouting matches. But people who are listening, they don't want to say, I'm Tibetan, you are Chinese, you are bad. That kind of reasoning will not go. Now, if you want to have debate with Chinese, if you want to convince your surrounding colleagues, you must know Chinese mindset. You must know Chinese history. You must convince them from their point of view. For example, I used to say, the Chinese, this fellow, all the time, he's always right and I'm always wrong. He used to say that. And I said, okay, what is your source of information? He said, yeah, obviously, CCTV and Xinhua News Agency. And I said, how much of news in CCTV and Xinhua News Agency is correct when it comes to Chinese people in China? They say, oh, it's government paper, 50-50. 50 is correct, 50 is not. And I said, which part of 50 on Tibet is not correct? Oh, on Tibet I thought it's 100% correct. No, 50% is not correct. So that's how you sow a seed of doubt, and that's how you inhabit it. But, yeah, I mean, as a Tibetan, we can't compromise. The issue is how vocal you should be. When I say don't compromise, meaning you don't accept their version, but be as polite as possible. Okay. Yeah.
Hello. Just a general question. Last year there were 27 students who received the Sikyong Award, and this year there are only 2. Could you elaborate on why? What may have caused that?
Oh. Okay, Dharamsala.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to comment on it now, but I can comment on the previous efforts. So, Tibetan community in general, our parents also used to, even teachers at school used to say that. Okay, they always say that. There's R on your forehead. There is R on your forehead. Why? You are a refugee. My goodness, so demeaning, so disgusting. Tibetan schools, Tibetan teachers is very common now. There's R on your face too. So there's, they always do that. First of all, I went to all the schools says there is no R. And told schools, please get up and please show me where is that R. Everybody says there is R. R. Mindu. Please tell your parents. Please say, please tell your teachers. So first, I had to change the mindset of students. We are anti-capture, we can't do this, we can't do that. That thing is there. And then I visited all the schools. Met all the students all the time. Each time I go to Shia, I never failed to meet students. So through discussion, through encouragement, I tried the best I could. Then we give all kinds of training to teachers, principals, first time to get up. In Tibetan school, if you're the school captain, fashion is #1 rule of thumb, So through that, then we create the scholarship, Sikyong scholarship. You get 95%, 100,000 rupees. If you get 90%, you get only 60,000 rupees. 95, you get 40,000 extra. Then everything became a buzz. Oh, Bunchik, Sikyong scholarship, Then what happens is that if you are the best and the brightest, you'll make little extra effort to say, okay, I get that. And if you're average, you become average. If you're below average, you become average. That's how you improve, right? So you have to create that environment. So it's very hard work. And over 10 years, so we got first Sikyong scholar, then last year 37 Sikyong, 95%. One got 99.9%. And year before that, 19 students got Sikyong scholarship. So, Kyushuglopta, Tibetan Timor Dalit school, we have students scoring 99%. Now, how many of you score 99% in Canada? Tell me, A plus, straight A students. How many of you have straight A's? A plus? Wow. How many of you? Yes. Very good. Then now she's pointing finger at her. So, in Kyushuglopta we could do that. So that's how, so it takes efforts to build that. And it's very easy to dismantle it. And I hope next year the result will be good. Yeah?
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Yeah, there is one.
정말 내용들을 Anzina and yes, Tiwal not exactly a question, but I would like you to advise. Nidongchukdin, I think it is Nidongchukdin 먼저 Tibetan youth leadership and again that which you mentioned Shimbarang Yidi Dharamsala la chayara and 먼저 Nepal ni yang lobto piri do yore and I was not able to go because of some personal issues, but there you speak about like 먼저 Peba youth kirang like 먼저 riksum sungkyok mashena and tizushiglit kire inchi goka oji sulap chai. I thought it happened like recently, July I think it's Richard Gary spoke with I think it's NDTV or something like there he said like now it's the high time like Kripa like mimang girang tes shukya like thongsa shokchikpo like it won't be possible. So that Canada Maliniela I had the opportunity to interact with diplomats from US, Australia, and Uzra Zeya, it sounds like it's very now like the same thing like she also mentioned like the youth should be responsible and take actions like so these I can see many youth in this room, so I think it'd be very helpful for everyone.
The Tibetan identity and Tibetan language, very important. Now, it's very important because over generations, even married, you see that, right? Many communities, they don't speak Italians here, right here in Toronto. They don't speak Italian language. Ukrainian didn't speak Ukrainian. Polish didn't speak Polish. And then it's a fact that we are also going through this generation. That over time, one generation will speak less and less, and then you stop speaking Tibetan language. That's how you lose your identity. And it's very important to know your language. Having said that, I'm of two minds. People always say you must speak Tibetan language. For me, to feel your Tibetan is equally important. Now, if you can speak Tibetan, better. Even if you cannot speak Tibetan, as long as you feel you are Tibetan, you want to work for a Tibetan cause, you want to fight for a Tibetan cause, it's good. Okay, it's not bad at all. Some people say, you want to shake him into your bad. They say, I'm not like that. As long as you feel you are Tibetan, good. That's the key. Now, then, if you speak Tibetan language, if you know about Tibetan history, Tibetan culture, you are better. Because ultimately, as I said, to feel your Tibetan, you must have the feeling, the emotion, you must have the connection. Connection, you will not get by reading about Tibetan English language. You will not get that connection. You will get that in Tibetan. So it's very important. So, I remember once I was in a wedding in the US, and there was an Asian-looking woman. She was there, and then I was talking to her, and she said, I'm Korean. He said, oh, have you been to Korea? She said, no, I hate Korea. I don't want to go there at all. I got shocked of my life, because she said she hates Korea. She doesn't want to go. For us Tibetan, my goodness, I'm Tibetan. I want to go to Tibet, right? That reaction, I said, my God, how many years have you been in America? She said, like 13 or 14 years. I got, shocked of my life that someone can just cut off your roots.
And one time, sometimes we do that in train. When you see Indian-looking person, you say namaste.
I said, namaste. Why are you saying that? I'm American. Speak to me in English. I was like, wow,
So I mean, as a Tibetan, you can't. Again, later I realized why I think like that is because I speak Tibetan language. I have an emotional connection being Tibetan, and when Korean says that or Indian says that, I get offended. But if you don't have that Tibetan connection, when someone says like this, yeah, you're natural, you're in Canada for so many years, you feel like that, I feel like that, right? So that emotional disconnect happens when you are, cut off from your culture and language. Okay? So it's very important, we all should. But I saw a lot of people, I always used to say, if you want to introduce Tibetan language, you must introduce through dance and songs. Oh my goodness, Toronto worship, famous, huh? Everybody watches YouTube, everybody watches Toronto worship. Mamla also watches all the time, YouTube. Yesterday I saw some of the famous ones. Oh yeah, we have some here. I had the privilege of dancing famous worship dancers of Toronto. Now I can go back and post, I've been to Toronto. Oh, you see that, you see her, you see him. I was with them. I was making sure I danced with all of them, yeah. Through bullshit, you get interested, then you sing a song. When you sing a song, you write in English first, right? Then you write in Tibetan, then you go to Sara College, you have a Sarah online school, so many online if you want to learn Tibetan. And recently I was at Prague, Tibetan Studies Conference. 600 people from 80 countries came. 600 with us. There are 600 researchers, scholars, professors, including 2 professors at Harvard, who teaches Tibetan Buddhism, all Gokse. And how many Tibetan students taking classes there? Tibetan Buddhism by American teacher to Tibetans. You have to study, you have to listen from Gokse. It's a fact because they know more than you. I was at Prague. My goodness, they know about Torma, everything, Tanka painting. My goodness, I said, our civilization culture is so rich, right? You can write a dissertation on Torma. How many of you know Torma? On Lu. How many of you know it? Lu. Sorry. Huh? You can write a dissertation, you can get a doctorate degree. Huh? I was like, wow. First time when I went to this conference in Indiana, I was listening to these people. They know about Tenju. All the pages, not just pages, namtas. You know, namtas are biographies of lamas. There's a professor at Harvard who Wonderkai. His whole life is studying about namtas, not pages, biographies of lamas. He knows about lamas, date of birth, when they die, what are the legacies, more than any Tibetan lama. By far. It's a fact. Because he has more pages, namtas, than any collection. Some lamas may be very good, but if you don't have all the pages, all the namtas, because he had access to libraries in Tibet. You got all the namtas, if you go to his house, so many namtas of lamas. 5, 6, 7 years, 1,000 years old namtas. And then, not that Gokse Nyangwala, but Gotusare. We have already started listening to Gokses. They know more than you about Tibetan culture. Yes, Hibashida.
Just this is I had a lot of questions already written down, but you have already answered half of them already. So
I have one question left out of all of the 3 questions. So my question is, what are your views towards the middle way policy, which is also known as Umelam, and Rangze for Tibet? And do you support either one or something else, and why?
Yes, as Sito, I support Umelam. Now, obviously, SFT people here, Shilu people here, ask why is Umelam? Now, Umelam, there's a policy and there's a strategy. You must understand that. It's 2 different things. As a policy, you can have all the debates you want. Which is better? Umelam is better or Rangze is better? Because as a policy, you can say, wow, Tibet was independent, historically independent. Yes? So we deserve our independence. Yes? Very simple. What China is doing, what Chinese government is doing is unfair. What we deserve is Rangze. So we should fight for it. As a policy, no question. And Umelam also has a policy, which is well, we don't have military power, we don't have resources, and our capacity is limited. America, Europe, anyone did not support us, continue not to support us politically for the independence of Tibet, right? And China is increasingly powerful. So be realistic. We have to talk to them. And Umelam is the only. There are 2 views. Both have basis. Not denying the fact. So you can debate this back and forth. It's unwinnable. You can say this, you cannot. But as a strategy, Umelam as a strategy, you can't argue against Umelam as a strategy. Because if you advocate Rangze, Canadian government might not allow you to enter the foreign office. Because they subscribe to one China policy. And if you are a United Nations member, 193 of them, Article 4 says, each member of the United Nations will respect sovereignty and territorial integrity of other members. So meaning one member will not get up and challenge your sovereignty and territorial integrity. So that's why Taiwan is de facto independent country. De facto. Their own country, own population, own government, everything. But the United Nations cannot even allow them to be an observer because China's sovereignty and territorial integrity should be respected. If Taiwan cannot make the case for independence, can we? Now, we could in Darussalam say we pursue independence and that's our stand. We will stand by, we'll stick to it, but we'll stay in Darussalam. You want to go to Washington DC, they will say, well, we believe in one China policy, so we can't allow you. So that's why the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, democratically elected, is not allowed to come to Washington DC. Is not allowed to come to Ottawa. No, not allowed to go to Brussels. Only president of Taiwan who was allowed to come to America was Lee Teng-hui. Because I think it's the 100th anniversary of Cornell University, because he was a former student, there was a major meeting of all the former students of Cornell University. So he was allowed to come as a former student in his individual capacity to visit America. Now, as a CETO, as CTA, if you advocate independence, do you want to be stuck in Darussalam or you want to travel around the world? What do you want to do? Travel around the world, do the best you can, right? Step by step. For example, it took me 10 years to enter the State Department, but you have an opportunity. If you can go to DC, you can knock doors, you can make friends, and over time you can enter the State Department. You can enter the White House, and you can pass Tibetan Policy and Support Act, which recognizes Tibet CTA, which recognizes Office of CETO. You can do all these things because as a Umelam, as a strategy, gives you the mobility, gives you the outreach. So we have a choice. So you should always separate Umelam as a policy and Umelam as a strategy. Right? So as a policy, you can have endless debate. I've been on both sides of that because I've been Tibetan Congress leader. You know, not just I was advocating independence, but in fact I was one of the radical ones. I went to burn Chinese embassy, you know, in Delhi. I was in Tihar jail 10 days. I've been through that. I've done all kinds of protests advocating independence. And it's just, and it's right. And you all must do that. Those who believe in independence, pursue independence. You must fight for it, of course. Organize protests, events, all the time. More you can do, the better. But as CTA, as a strategy, what do you want to do? Having said that, but if there's a conducive environment, right, then it's for us to decide. But the reality is this: if Taiwan cannot do it now, can we? Is the issue. Yeah.
Hi. So my question is, during your 10 years as Sikyong, it was a time of change and evolution for the world, and I'm asking, how do these changing circumstances in the world affect your goals and approach to improving the betterment of the Tibetan people, especially as the world quickly evolves and changes over the time? So obviously that impacts how Tibet maybe the goals of Tibet may be pursued.
Yesterday, in Tibetan, I spoke yesterday because I just gave a workshop or what they call young Indian thinkers meet. It's essentially BJP ruling government youth leadership forum. So I was asked to give a talk. So their main discussion there was that India this year is the 75th anniversary of India's independence. So what we have achieved, where we are, is democracy 2.0. So what democracy 1.0 was, where they failed, where they didn't succeed, what are the good things to improve, and moving forward, what do we do? So their talk was, in the next 25 years, when India reaches 100th anniversary, where India should be, was the discussion. So they were discussing all kinds of things. Then I raised this as a, as an argument I put forward that in the next 25 years, all these are very bright youth, okay, of India. Those who work, some of them are sons, children of ministers and MPs. Some work for Prime Minister's office, all kinds, very talented, all Harvard graduates, very skilled. And I said, in the next 25 years, and for you too, what is likely to happen in the world is there will be a third world war. Right? There will be. I mean, that's my position as a debate. Then what should India do? And what should Tibetans do is the issue. Now why I say this is, if you look at First World War, Second World War, 30 years war, okay, in 1648 when Treaty of Westphalia was signed, the factors and the actors of those wars is very similar to now. There was great power and there were emerging powers. They were vying for influence. And First World War, if you actually look at it, it's a very small issue. You know that, right? The Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Crown Prince was visiting Albania, I think. And the Serb nationalists killed him. Right? Now, Austro-Hungarian Empire could have taken the revenge by killing one of the Crown Prince or what have you, serving some Serb. They could have killed, and then settled the dispute. But Germany said to Austro-Hungary, go do whatever you want, right? And Austro-Hungarian said, okay, now I'll get rid of Serbs, once and for all. And then Russia said, well, if you want to get rid of Serbs, then my satellite state or supporters will be local. I will serve the support Serbs. Don't serve, you do whatever you want. Now, Russia and Germany were angling at they were angling at each other, not at Austro-Hungary and Serbia. Okay, their interest is macro. And then Germany said, okay, I must teach Russia a lesson. So I will take my army through Belgium. You see Russia, right? Why Ukraine war is happening, that corridor through Europe, right? That's the corridor. So we went through Belgium. France got alarmed. My goodness, the German army is marching through my neighbor. Germany joined. And then I just said France joined, right? So So okay, I'll support Russia because I must stop, Germany. Then England, Ottoman Empire, segment of Asia is for the take huge territory. So I will also join because at that time the colonialism was going on, the naval war, all the naval powers. I also joined and get the spoils, right? See, one small issue became a whole war, and they fought and killed each other. And finally, Russia won, right? France won, Germany lost. And they signed a treaty called Treaty of Versailles, 1919. Put a lot of imposition on Germany, and Germany felt humiliated, right? And that humiliation became a resentment and became a rallying cry for Germany as a nation, the nationalism. And Hitler took advantage and told Germans, we were humiliated, we were blamed for the First World War, we can't take it, we must fight and regain our honor. In fact, our Aryan race is superior to everybody, right? And Hitler got Second World War. What essentially these big powers are angling, to take over. Now look at now. America, this is declining, but now China wants to take over, right? China is rising, and they're forming an alliance with Russia. They're trying to form an alliance with Iran, which these are against America. And then America is forming alliances, right, all over. Because of Ukraine and Europe is on its own, now they have Quad, which Japan, Australia, India, and America together, because alone it's very difficult to defeat Chinese naval war. So with Australia and India, and Japan, you can strengthen it. So this is going on. Number two, Industrial Revolution. Europe became rich. Once you became rich, you buy guns and you fight. It's logic. Very simple. Middle East, all these countries, they discovered oil 40 years ago. They became rich 30 years ago. And then now they're buying a lot of guns and they're fighting with each other. Yes? Now what's happening? More guns are bought and made in Asia. More than Middle East. Now what's happening? Germany changed its route. The Second World War residue. And so, we must spend more on defense. Historic change. That was the imposition, that was the limitation imposed by Second World War, after Second World War. Now, Japan is changing its constitution. They want to go offensive now. They don't want defense, just defense. They're changing constitution so they can buy more guns and buy more, planes and fight. They're spending more money. Everybody's spending more money. And Taiwan is a crisis point. It's all over the news. So, in this context, my challenge to the Indian youth was, what would India do? Because if you ally wrong way, like Second World War, if you Germany or Japan, Italy, if you're on the loser side, you lose big time. You never get to recover. Very powerful country. Germany and Japan is rich, but economic powers, the hard power, the military power, they don't have. So there's a disadvantage. But Russia invaded Ukraine, Germany is disadvantaged. They realized, my goodness, Russia could have just walked in and challenged Germany too, right? So this is what's happening now. And crisis point, South China Sea, East China Sea, Taiwan, Doklam, Galwan, India, all these things are happening. The next 25 years, my proposition is Third World War is likely to happen. Now, what will you do with Umelam, Seneshivelam? If there's a war, what will you do? You need a strategy. You must articulate your strategy. You can't say, we are not aligned, we are neutral. You can't do that. If there's a war between India and China, what will you do if there's a war between India or China attacks Taiwan? What will you do? As a leader, you can't just run away. You can't hide in your office. You have to issue a statement first. You have to tweet. You have to write something. Are you for this? Are you against this? If you are for war, what happens to your non-violence? Ahimsa, Umelam, Gandhi, and all that. But if you're against war, everybody's fighting. You have to take sides. How will you articulate your stand? How will you articulate this? If there's a war between, let's say, India and China, Yeah, but what will your articulation be? Are you for or against war? That is true, but you must protect Tibet's interest. But how will you articulate it? Okay, let me give you a live example. So Galwan Valley happened, right? There was army, the Chinese army attacked, killed Indian soldiers, right? They killed. And then I was on television, Indian television. So they were asking me, should I give you a complicated case? Okay, this is a real case. Now, what is the reason or the excuse the Chinese government used to invade or attack Galwan Valley? For the matter, Dokla or Taiwan in 1962? What was the reason? Huh? No. They say it's true. In 1947, when Tibet was independent, India just got its independence, Tibetan government sent a telegram to government of India, to Pandit Nehru, saying that all the Simla agreement, all those territories the British took from us is null and void. We want all the territories back. Let's start with Darjeeling. Okay. Tawang is ours, all this is ours. Let's start with Darjeeling. That's the telegram. Now the Chinese government army is saying, look, Tibetans claim all these areas, including Galwan, as part of Tibet. Hence we are sending our troops to reclaim what Tibetans claimed in 1947 when to Indian government. Now how will you reply? Tibetan government sent a telegram claiming Galwan to be Tibetan. Now Chinese are saying, because you say Tibet is part of China, right? What Tibetan says is what we say. Tibetan said Galwan is part of China or Tibet. We have come to take over. Now you are asked this question. How will you answer? No, as a Tibetan, how will you protect your own interests without harming India? How will you? Yeah, they are using Tibet for all this, but they have telegram to prove it. So because India says Tibet is part of China, if Tibet is part of China, all the documents that Tibet had is also part of China, and they're using the telegram to say this is the document, explains, and we're going to take over. Now, how will you answer? Shivla, you're going to face this question.
I think, thinking long term, it would have been a better suggestion to hold on to the claim that all of these regions do belong to Tibet, and then actually challenge the Indian side to say that because it belongs to Tibet, it is in India's interest to support the Tibetan cause.
But the Chinese troops are there. But how will you? So that means you're saying Chinese troops can come.
We don't want to make a claim to say that it is either part of India, because one day when we have Tibet, there's some nations from India. So we're not doing that.
It's easy in Toronto. You're right there in India. India is our biggest supporter, right? And if you say that, oh, we can't support it. Emotions are very high in India. Well, the Indian troops were killed. Indians were very angry at China at that time, right? Now, if you say anything that offends...
How would it offend them if you asked for a friendship? You're asking...
No, but what they're saying is, they're saying, withdraw your telegram. Just say, hey, that telegram is nonsense. If you don't say that, if you don't say Chinese are using the telegram, that's the claim.
I don't think we should withdraw any claim. It's the claim
But
of the
then they say, okay, then you don't stay in India, you get out of Dharamsala and go somewhere else.
We could have a friendship with India and strengthen our ties.
The friendship is based on support. Support. Emotions are very high.
I think better to let them realize the historical moment that let's be the Shimachi, let's be one of the Shimachi and realize India, how the Tibetan, because Tibetan.
No, that is argument, that's for later. But there's a specific issue. Chinese army is there based on Tibetan telegram we sent in 1947 saying Galwan is part of Tibet. Now if Tibet is part of China, then Chinese troops there. Now we are told is withdraw the telegram. You say, hey, if you withdraw the telegram, Chinese won't have claims. The Chinese troops cannot come. Now as a friend to India, you must be friendly, you must support them. But how do you support them? Now, huh?
If we were to withdraw, what is something India can use to offer us?
Not offer, we are already there. India is the biggest supporter. Without India, we don't exist. All the Gomba, CTA, Parliament, none of them exist. We won't be here. Canadian government will not allow us to form a government exile in Canada. America will not allow us to form a government exile in America. They can allow us to form NGOs, but not governments. Like we run our own schools, things like that. It's a fact. Huh? The support India has given us, no one has ever given it. And then in 1950, it was a reality. All these neighboring countries didn't want us. Buddhist countries didn't want us. It was only India who allowed us. So at the same time, as a trusted friend who supported us, who essentially made us survive, is in need of support now. But I'll not answer that, because sometimes in face I answered that. Okay? How did I answer? Huh? Now, you have to think very sharp. So I was asked this question, you have to flip the question, okay? Sometimes you can answer without answering. I flipped the question and said, now, Galwan is a small place, right? 2 acres of land for us to make a statement, right? Whereas India has already given 2.5 million square kilometers of land of Tibet to China. Let's talk about the big thing. Support us to reclaim 2.5 million square kilometers. Galwan is small. We can settle it. Mistake was with these 2.5 million square kilometers of land. Just flip it. I didn't answer it, but I supported India. I supported India, and then I said, then there's a Hindi journalist. He was very persistent. Like he says, Galwan kiska hai? Where does Galwan belong to? Huh? No. If you say that, then you are validating the telegram. It's validating. China has telegram. So that's the excuse they're there. Whoever say, exactly. I am supporting Whoever's claim. I want to send Chinese troops there. Whoever government in Tibet are Whoever's. They all agree with Chinese government. They say, I'm excellent. You are 150,000. You are 2.5% of Tibetan population. 97.5% Tibetans are in Tibet. They agree with China. So you get into the argument. You just think you have moral authority to speak for Tibet. But actually 97.5% of 6 million Tibetans inside Tibet have better claim over Tibet. But they are under pressure. They are under control. The Chinese government can get 10 Tibetan governors also. Say Galwan is our telegram is valid. And you say, no, we then we have to fight among each other, Tibetan side, Tibetan side. Rather you flip it. And then the Hindi journalist asked me, Bolo, Galwan kiska hai? And I said, Main saaf keh dunga. I'll make it very clear now. Where does Galwan belong to? Who Galwan belongs to? Ye Cheen ka nahi hai. That's it. It's not part of China. India is happy. I said what I want. And I didn't talk about them. See? Yeah.
So I don't think that current Modi government is ready to reshuffle what Nehruji did before. They're just repeating this. They are not ready to accept historical ground as well. And I don't think they will.
Now, you can say that.
Yeah.
But which country has? Okay, Modi government doesn't do that. You can talk. Which country has? America? Justin Trudeau? Brussels? I mean, so when you look at support, you have to look at degree of support. Okay, you just can't say because he or she doesn't say what I want to say, so he's bad. No, you must look at as a diplomat, as a leader. You must think differently. You can't react emotionally. You have to react strategically. So you say, okay, from degree of support, India gives us the best support. Tell me. We can say, yeah, Modi doesn't do it. Yes, but Modi does more than others at least he calls His Holiness Dalai Lama on his birthday and he tweets about it. Which Prime Minister of India did that? So there are certain things the Modi government does better. There are certain, we all want someone to do good for us. But you have to look at degree of support. Okay, which country? Then you must have the level of appreciation. Yeah?
Do you think that statement that you made about 2.5 square kilometers of land that you speak of, one day down the road in the future, that could become a point where India also claims over Tibetan regions?
Yeah.
Because at that point, you are the speaker of the Tibetan government in exile, and so that statement can now be used against us in the future as...
Yes. But I didn't say Galwan is part of India. I said Galwan is not part of China. Do you get it?
I did. However, earlier the pretext was 2.5. Is Galwan Chutni Valley saying it's okay, you know, it's just a small land you're talking about, but what about 2.5?
Million square kilometers.
Exactly. So that phrase, do you think that can have any
Yeah,
implications?
it's okay. Once we get 2.5 million square kilometers of land, 2.5 square kilometers, no problem. We got 2.5 million kilometers of land. We got Tibet. Some border issues, some mountains here, rivers there, doesn't matter. We can always give back and forth. So that's what I'm saying. Support us for the bigger cause. Then chota mota baat mein ho jayenge.
Yeah.
But if you don't get the bigger one, then you can't have everything.
I'm saying that interpretation could be otherwise. I understand now where you came from, because I interpret it as India claiming over the 2.5 million square kilometers.
2.5, no.
Then saying that, oh, one day
Now,
that is also
as a leader,
Yeah.
as a leader, you should not debate on theoretical issues.
No,
No, never. 2.5 million, whether India can claim or not, you don't know, I don't know. If they claim, if and when, if you say that, then you are a non-ending question. Whenever journalists ask you, if something happens, I don't answer theoretical question. That's the safest one. Because you don't know, do you know India will claim that?
It's not it's based on your statement. Could that become
No,
a
put
point
that, don't get into put that. Once you're a leader, if you get into put that, then you're in trouble. Canada might support us, Canada might support America, put support.
Okay, sorry, may I correct my question?
Yeah.
Do you see implications of that statement that you made affecting
No. What I said is, because this is
If
very
you
good.
don't, then I
No,
ask.
what I said is, Galwan is a small piece of land. Let's talk about 2.5 million square kilometers of land, which is Tibet. First solve this, then we can talk about Galwan Valley. That's what I said. I didn't say we can talk about 2.5 million kilometers. I said support us to regain 2.5 million kilometers of land. Once we do that, chota sa ye Galwan, baat mein baat kar lenge. Then there was the Indians happy, we're happy. So, as a leader, again, this is very important. Whenever they ask a theoretical question, there's the journalists, they always say this, that, did you beat your wife? Your answer should never be, I did not beat my wife. Because tomorrow headlines will be, I did not beat my wife, says Emma Thompson. You know? Whenever they say, did you beat your wife? Answer should be, I don't want to answer the question. Nonsense. Huh? So again, theoretically also, when they ask you hypothetically, do you think, India will support you in the future or not? America will support. I said, that's theoretical. I don't want to answer that. So as a diplomat, as a leader, when you're in a hot spot, you be very, very careful what you answer. Because it will come and bite you. So what I answered for almost 6 weeks, 53 national televisions of India, okay, hundreds of newspapers. There's not even a single sentence that can bite me. I'm confident about it. So how do you do that when you are in that position, right? So this is also, again, leadership 101. So don't get into hypothetical question. Okay? Yeah. Any?
The thing that's interesting the most mine might be a little boring. It's about the Tibetan administration's finances. So my question and my concern is that everyone knows that 95 to 90% of the revenue that comes in CTA comes from foreign aid and foreign governments. So my question is, what if in the future, because of some geopolitical situations, like you said, World War III might happen in 25 years, if that happens, if that funding gets stopped, do we as, does the government have extra revenue sources, or do they have any plans? Because Samdurumlache previously had closed down a lot of businesses of the CTA, so that's my question.
Now, yes, it's true. As a government example, there are very difficult challenges. So in the last 50 years, the ranging, the saving that we had, CTA, was 200 crores. In the last 10 years, I tried to increase to almost 200 crores. So we have 400 crores in reserve. So we must have more reserve. As I said, China has $2 to $3 trillion foreign reserve. So we must have as much reserve as possible. It's a fact. One day Canada says, America says, we've cut off funding. Hey, you're in trouble. Now, that's why, we, the Tibetans in this room, get good education, get good jobs, 6 figures job, 7 figures job, and contribute 10% of your salary to CTA or for your costs. So that's the only way. In fact, Khan Foundation, right? Aga Khan.
Yeah. Aga Khan, yeah.
Aga Khan Foundation is so rich, it's richer than many countries. Why? Anyone? Because Aga Khan is part of a Muslim sect. They don't call themselves Muslim, it's a sect. Where they have millions of followers, they contribute 20% of their income to their spiritual teaching. 20%. So that's why Aga Khan Foundation is so rich. Aga Khan himself, the spiritual teacher, has millions of followers, even shopkeepers, the roadside. Everybody says 20% of my profit goes to spiritual work. So one spiritual group can contribute so much and make Aga Khan Foundation the region. We all use Khan mathematics, we all use Khan Academy, for free. What? There are one people are contributing 20% of the salary or the profit. Why can't we do that? And as a Canadian, you pay 37% of your income tax to Canadian government. Yes? Why can't you do that? Unless we are able to do that, CTA funding in the future can be, No, that you're always throwing at others. Oh, why doesn't CTA do business? Why doesn't CTA earn like that? We tried that. We have entrepreneurship. We try to open a bank. All that. We should do all that. But the major funding should come from people, sources. So we did our best. We had this entrepreneurship project where we're training, giving all kinds of training, vocational training, skills training, trying to open a bank because all the governments, all the countries, they have their own banks. Why can't we run our own bank? Swiss, in 1930s was a farming country, one of the poorest region of Europe, Switzerland. Now is one of the richest in the world. Why? Simply because they had banks. During Second World War, no one bombed Switzerland. Why? All the ministers, including Hitler, had deposits in Swiss bank. No one wanted to bomb it. That's part of the theory, the conspiracy theory. Just buy a bank. Did we give such rich country? So, again, I don't want to comment too much on this thing, unless it just gets dragged into other stuff. I don't mind. But sometimes nuisance. Okay.
So, Tibetan, two final questions because Kumala has been standing up for over 2 hours. So two questions.
Comedian, yes, stand-up comedian. Because I would look in the eye.
Sejong lobsang Toronto Hebadela Trasila Tomeo. Katong Onong Bumi side to go Chetan Churungi Lujilla Kabijaba de la Nino Tampan Chichi Shivio de Gaber Pujison. Niton Chixni, Niton Istachibara, Luchurana, New Bumi side to Sechon Lusingi Kabijavio, Pendo Javayana, New Pokonone, and Marongi Fire Amdo. Sechong Tombo la Niton Chisu Land Zambala, any Pokanolo, and Marong Pai Chipa, any Kurangi Chena, any Pushon. kurangi lama zambu java yubja khumbu lobsang sengi dina vidor tanda yore ta kurangnya mani phanchi bare ta te pokono umate churangi liga taza labchen re tazo la moni tongmak shiri yore ngaroye na poni chinjore tajidi zambalani ngarongi tela da nga first time brazi jang thukba de de pe musinga uchonsong ani ngaroye na nitong Georgie Gojita Tomboni Tanda Palola, Ani Matsu Dow, Toronto Dow Generation Kongi, then La, Ani Nima Reton, Denton Redi, Dava Redi, Lori Lani, or Focus in Bichani, and Maron Gayori, Yuba Nonsing Maron Ginya, Ani, that Divi Lucia, Dava, Domas to Tanda Palola, Maron Giptani. Puja kapta mur ani java yujunore sechonre talanashin susumupeta sarene marongi gift tamne da kabli dre jabdi yora kabli jab go yora maro bopar maro la kamar yori murid ton jarkap kamar chimbu yore tajide tambalani tre toa dina muzar khalila nata marongi nitong nishe lode java yujunore kadin jideng golore ani tadis chongo nitong nishe de Matsubi Java Muchi Garden Jijin Lucha Deores, the Judita Manapupas in Michani, Gipsu, Karijata Kundo, and Yapojina Yapoyusa Marongi, Sechongo, Vidra Taina, the Nimarongi, Ori, San Marongi, Onsacha Gaza de Cardina, and Matsubi Peace Walker, Shibu Kundo de Chimbu Gavareta, Matu Moboyora, Matu Luta Gindam, Mobo Pinja Sayori, the Judama Peace Walker, that Toronto, Canada, Jessa, Ottawa. Or Toronto, they lose some amount of some doing Indonesia, East of some Lusum Lata, Maron gives to the following some new Maron Maron Ari, Minnesota, named Joraga, Pony Legion, Junior, Kuran Luju Ship, Mania, the Geneta, Toronto, Toronto, Indonesia. Something generated by goods in Niton, Nijida, Domicil, Lajaro, Luchika, any Gongo Jasha, Kintunkara, de Toronto, Jodre, any Tijila, any Marunga Tanda, Diego Saturday, Yamani, Canada, Jayola, any Marungi is Concour, Chatakur, that Concour, the Japan, Canada, Jayola, that was some Gorona, any Dig Saturday, Yamani, Vancouver, any Vancouver. Bikes are bought in the Union, Marongi, Bujarkata, Muribicheta, and in Mardi province, Chiron, the Jina Dawson, Guramaro, Chipibon in the Latin, I think if you can do your dinner, and it's Jambuyasi, and de la Secretary, they named the past, and I started doing it on a thick chain.
Cycle guy can check for a car. Can cycle swinging crying, but not swinging and several times. In a child, and about the level of Pemon to die of it, I may have to walk. Now, she wore it, the future wore it, another can conjure my boy guy, and we my mobile, and the mission that we like. We must have a day, not something she's not getting told. This was the beach, really, Galega, and then. But this was China, one year, and now should settle Shui, same shoe, much have taught, same shoe, you have it, convey Joseph, and between the bear, and let our soon be Canada and Lord Jerva, and a cycle, head, Silamone and China, Chavala, and Nova, Jabur Mambolava, the day for any social bed to and Jimmy, which China get side, Sheva, Lamas and Turbos and Tani Jora, chance such a chicken, image and anything good ever tell us. Jesuit and the Nachi, noted in our kitchen.
The forum has organized pizzas, so this is going to be the final question, and then all the youth participants can definitely have pizza. Okay, there's two questions, so.
Tomadela situ de pene na tsambala ta biduchi kokola kamena wana ni kapane to cheshwai. Ni marina te gimane latane chine genda tawta andi taw chinyo shai tini ani tijela tarasala pechinu lentuna la lo chusi anda di shunu gi chashe shai ani tanda ta lo tande jela ta leadership la leader do sta chagi yore la na khala ta ramela strati wa ta tende lengi peti la pede lengi peti ta jagai na pede lengi ma bu na la shu shwe ko gara so an thoi na la ko gara de la ani thuna la kharich thungu du la na singe shida no wa de na ya gonda shwe ani jinju na lo la ta lo shinje na da gen bai no lengi pi ku mendo shu me ra lengi hasa ya ho pe nang gi do ra yin na ya 오메남다 랑제로 짱제네요. 디제네 디세 상마제로 출라도라. 안주 링규베디라 다 리치 제베디라 아디 오메남레 제 랑제로 오리도 고탕딩도라. 마레다 이나 오메남나 자셰다기 샤체체네 두비요 링규베디나 오메남나 샤체두요 슈누게 링규베나 수송고네 고치 냠도 링규라 냐셰치기 유샤이. 딘데지모라 디니라 제 데데바이나 만주기 ani lengui tenalola mi lengi chepe de la lengi ga ta leader tendo lengi pe kuti chidi minga chu nishu do ma to legi mindora ani tinde chidi ma jo phe nalola kange khache yamba tawachi nalola nine khandi chida dumba na khrola mi duing je de thongha na chu sa sura ma ne thaja na de thongso ti chidi ani sichongge nge gi thiwa so de sichongge ta nga chu gi chadang sichong changmasong chana tande lengi na khande nya shu chenge leadership ji chamzala tende leadership la ya ne shu ma chi di tis ne shu ngare gi chona la ngare nyam to le gi pe la leadership do de so si shu chane sha shu ta ma ti chi me me ma nya shu chi de la ne de pe cha tende cha do ti ma to pe ta ne la ni gi do shwe tende la ni si chongge kamis na ma shi to ji che
I mean, as Tibetan, we have to serve our cause till we die. Till we die, we can't escape being a Tibetan. When we die also, we'll die as Tibetan because we were born as Tibetan. Our parents were Tibetan. So we have no choice. And philosophically speaking, when you go back, just before you die, you just say, okay, what did I do in my life? Yes, I got a job, I bought my house, I got a car, I got kids, and they're doing okay, good, so, and then I die. So that 6 billion people will do that. So we are not just one of the 6 billion people. 7 billion. 7 billion, most of them, they have their own countries. Whether they vote for cause, participate in the event or not, doesn't matter. They will have their country, they will have their government, good prime minister will come, bad president will come, they will change, they get back to normal. We can't. Because survival is at stake. Our identity, our cause, our civilization. The Chinese government policy is very clear. They want to make Tibet into a Chinatown. They want to make Tibetans Chinese. And they're doing everything possible, physically destroy. Recently, they started demolishing the statue of Buddha, future Buddha, statue of Guru Rinpoche, prayer wheels. These are unheard of. This was done during Cultural Revolution and before Cultural Revolution, when they first invaded here. This is new, unprecedented. This is dangerous. So in monasteries, they're not allowed to run schools. They're discouraging Tibetan children in Tibetan learning Tibetan language. So, it's in some ways it's frightening. The Chinese government policy is so repressive, so intrusive, so systematic and thorough. And we are in free world. We have a choice. In that sense, we have no option, really. As a Tibetan, we must work for the Tibetan cause. So yes, sometimes, you want to play with your phone, Roblox game or Among Us or whatever you want to say, with BTS and Drake and all that. Sometimes, but you must spare some time for the cause. Each time there's an event, why don't you go? You can take your phone with you, but go to the event. So number will look nice, will look bigger. So we must contribute in every possible way. So do participate. Having said that, if you study, now that's why I said we must study. If you study civil rights movement in America,
We all read, right? There are Martin Luther King, they succeeded, there was Civil Rights Act and all that. But it's not true. They also went through up and down. Popularity movement is dependent on innovation of the movement, right? And the charisma of the leader. Each time they have a charismatic leader, the movement goes up. Each time they have an innovative event, very creative events, the movement goes up. They get more coverage. This is a fact. So, they all invented this movement. When you saw civil rights movement, right? You know, they show you footage of American police beating up African Americans. Yes? They had vaccines and little sticks and dogs and thrown at them. Yes or no? Have you all watched that? But do you know these African Americans who were marching at that time were trained? They went through workshops. When dogs bite you, don't react. When police beat you, don't react. Normal reaction is you fight back, you say something. You are trained, you go through workshops for weeks and months, then you are sent out. Rosa Parks, right? Remember she sat in the bus? She also got training. That's where leadership should come. If you just say, I'm organizing, you will come to the event, some people will come, some people will not come. But the fact that Packer Wednesday Gorshek is famous here in Toronto, why? Because someone came up with this creative idea and chose a location. It's surrounded with buildings where Tibetans live. Had they chosen a location somewhere else, right? Not many Tibetans would come. When Gandhiji led the movement, Dandi March and such, all that, all of them were trained. All of them were trained. So it's not accident that when British beat you, those people in the front were not reacting. You see this actually if you watch movies. There are nurses who will come, they beat you, okay, you're bleeding and you fall. And the nurses will come and collect the bodies, drag the bodies. Because they're prepared. So leaders also, we must come with something creative. Why Goshen and Toronto became popular? Who came up with this idea?
Actually, Tibet.
Good.
Tibet.
No. Of course, inside Tibet, we all do that. Let's not get to that. But here in Toronto, who started this? Of course, we know in Tibet, Lhasa, everywhere they do that. But who started it? Why Toronto? Why not New York? Or why not DC? Or why? Why I said this is, who decided? Someone came up with the idea. Someone chose a location by accident or design, and it's popular. That's what I'm trying to say. And then Paris, recent process, youth organizing. 10,000 people, more than 10,000 people came out to support for one person who got killed by Chinese. These were youth. They thought it through, they planned it, they executed it, and turnout was huge, all dressed in white. So normally we go in shops and things like that, right? So if there is a leadership with creative idea, and element of charisma is needed sometimes, you can do things. We have done it over and over again. So both of the leadership and participation. Right? I'm looking forward to many more creative activities and events in Canada. So with that note, that's the final question. Oh yes. Sure, are you sisters? Or friends, best friends? Yeah. Best is study, yes.
I was just wondering, do you have a piece of advice for to remember to be a good leader during a time of crisis?
Yes. Now, theoretically, leader is supposed to handle crisis. If you are not able to handle crisis, you should not be a leader. If you are most needed when there is crisis. When you run away, you're not a leader. So some people do run away because Afghanistan, right? So the President Ghani ran away. He gave whole country to Taliban. Zelensky, right? Ukraine president. He was a comedian. He was a movie actor. He was not a well-trained leader. Mr. Ghani in Afghanistan was a World Bank,
a professor, very knowledgeable, very educated. But he was leading Afghanistan. When Taliban came, he ran away. So America spent $2 trillion, 20 years to build up Afghanistan as a nation. And the army, they had like 300,000 at least. Afghan army. They could have easily beaten 30 or 40,000 Taliban, militia. Easily. But president ran away. Zelensky, he was a movie actor, just got elected. He decided to stay. He decided to fight. Right? And rallied the whole Ukrainian. And fought, he did. Single leadership in the moment of crisis. Now, interestingly, Ukrainians, 60-70% of Ukrainians speak Russian. They watch Russian TV. Zelensky himself was a comedian, an actor in Russian-speaking television, very popular. And in fact, Ukraine, when Soviet Union was formed, there were 3 countries which joined Russia to form Soviet Union. The first 3 members was Ukraine. Can you imagine that? And Ukraine got independence only in 1990. It's been just 30 years. But Zelensky said, I'll stay against this mighty army of Russia. And the whole population, Ukrainian, suddenly they are Russian-speaking people. They watch Russian TV. Suddenly in 2 weeks, they said, we are Ukrainian. We are going to defend our country against Russian invasion. And what is one line? The slogan of Ukraine, the Zelensky made popular and all the Ukrainians speak. What is it?
Salute.
Victory to Ukraine, Galo. Victory to Ukraine. Like they say, Big Galo. One line. That's the rallying point of Ukrainians. One line. Big Galo. Ukraine, Galo. All of them, opposition party, you like it or not, everybody said, everybody rallied against leadership, moment of crisis. Some stand tall, some run away. Some muddle through. So you must be prepared. As a leader, I'm supposed to handle crisis. So for a leader, crisis is an opportunity. If you're a good leader, you think like that. When the crisis comes, I say, this is my moment. I must handle it. Now, I think you're asking this question in the context of, at a personal level, it's very stressful. People don't listen to you, right? You try to persuade them, and they don't listen. They don't come to an event, and then you have argument, and you get emotional, and leadership is very stressful job, right? And then everybody gets stressed. Leaders also get stressed. Okay. Now, in Buddhism, it's very important. Everybody gets through stress. I mean, if somebody is saying, I don't get stressed, I'm lying. Everybody gets through stress. But how fast you can come out of the stress is in your hands. Now, if you stress and you build it up inside, then after some time it becomes too much and you get in depression and you get into this dark world and you don't come out of it. But again, mindfulness, okay, compassion, teach you to come out of stress quickly. So you must accept stress as part of leadership. Challenges as part of leadership. Disagreeing is part of it. Emotional, shouting at you, all this is part of leadership. You must take it and you must come out of it. Faster you come out of it, you become better. Did I answer your question? Yeah? Good. Thank you. Okay. Yeah?
Sorry, I'm a little bit camera shy, so
yeah,
camera
okay.
day.
No cameras.
Thank you so much.
Camera agree. Okay. I'm not
Get
shy.
that out later. So some of the questions I may ask might sound stupid or maybe maybe sound like bad guy, but okay, let's backtrack, right? Again, Galwa Wali do Kesha Port Shesa. What did Kunziki Suchoje la Karsa? Gana do. Can we just say Telegram we asked it for the person? Yeah, it was for the interest of the Tibetan people. It's the interest of the Tibetan government, right? So like, with that being said, can we just say, why not ask the people of the Dalwa Valley, like petition the Chedwa. So like, pressure will not be on us to claim it or not. What the apple, the Hashin and the Quebec is only petition Shuda, Canada, so we don't have to worry about the small lands. And the other thing is, we are nomadic people, and and we have such a large land, and we don't need those small areas in India. We don't actually have proof, like full proof, because we just have 2,000 years of history, and some of the lands we say which is ours is actually conquered. And the other thing is, if we claim something, we gotta give it protection. We can't provide protection. Because last time we found the tax protection tool. So so it makes sense that we don't need that much land, because the manpower, guard chain security, we can't handle that. And the deeper we're all stuck in a mindset of spirituality, and that's a problem. The Longbai warfare is not about spirituality and religion. And the problem is, so, and the thing is, Shuk Mena, diplomatic there, as a diplomatic there, what's this? We gotta take sides, because that's our opportunity, right? So they sent Mongolian army. Nations, it goes among favors. You give a favor, you take one. Like no one cares. Resource so I think like we should pick a side, like, and and think of the problem. Will we stick back to the same mentality that will be protected by our superiors? For example, we were under Manchu rule. Manchu gave us protection. But the problem is, protection is power collapse. So I think we need our own army when we get like independence, and we should be ready to.
Very good, very good.
Galwan Valley, let the people in Galwan decide. They will vote, they will say we are part of India. So that's not the issue. That issue is historical things. Now it depends which part of history you go. If you go to the 1863, the 73 Tibetan, if you go by the history, that many historians have missionaries, people who have done surveys, have written books, and they have written saying the last border town of Tibet with India is this. Right? But then that, if you go by that history, that person quoted, Galwan is part of Tibet. So now it all depends, which history, which part, which book you pick. And then the name Galwan, how did it come? He was a British employed geographist who does survey. He was a Muslim guy. And he wrote a book about about his journey, own biography. And the preface was written by a young husband. So
So now you have to read the book about Mr. Galwan, who was Khache, in whose name the land was given. So now history gets complicated, you see. So there are historians who have written, who writes map, they have written about Galwan, and the person's name is a Muslim name, but we say it's part of Tibetan. How is it so? And he's written a book, preface written by young husband. Young husband led the most dreaded, murderous expedition from, British India to Tibet. Remember, he killed all the Tibetans, right? He forced a treaty on Tibetans. So, so now that's why I said we have to read. I mean, you read a lot, huh? The way you talk about, but you have to read a lot more. And then you understand that when the one issue comes up, you should. For example, I said on national television also, 2014, Chinese army came to Doklam, and then suddenly Doklam is between Bhutan and Sikkim. Bhutan claims Doklam is part of Bhutan. So everybody is saying, why is the Chinese troops coming there? What's going on? What should we do? How should we react? Now, there are so many experts, okay? They all talk. The Indian, they have their own biases. They think they know more India than Tibetans. They all were talking. So I was asked to appear. And I talked to Indian officials also. First of all, I said, do you know the meaning of the word Doklam? Now, in Tibetan, Doklam would mean three different things, related but different. One, Dolam, means just a road. One, Doklam, difficult road. One, Doklam, Dokbe Langa, nomadic road. Roads for nomad. Now, if you don't know the meaning, actual local definition of the word Doklam, you don't know how you are going to position yourself as Indian troops. If it's Dolam, if it's an easy way, if you take Indian troops, Chinese will be waiting, they will massacre you. Yes? But if it's difficult road, you better know, you better get a local tour guide to take you through this difficult road. Otherwise, again, you get defeated. If it's Doklam, this nomadic road, you better hire a nomad to show you the road. So if you don't know the meaning of the word, you might lose the war, or you win the war. So, you explain that. That's why I said, Indian troops, you need to learn, not just that's useless. When you cross over the mountain of Tibet, on the other side, they will say, you say, Ni hao, woman lobsang singing, Ni hesa chu, oh, they say, so you have to teach Tibetan. Now, Indian troops, they are taught Tibetan. When they are taught Tibetan, they learn the language of Tibet. Tibetan service program comes. So this is how you do. So history is very, very complicated, So if you do ask government people vote this way. But after 100 years, if you ask government people, they might vote differently. Violence to fight Nigeria. Yes. If any one of you want to join Canadian Army, Navy, Air Force, there are a lot of Tibetans who join American troops, Marines, Navy, Army. Why not? You get good scholarship, you get a college degree for free or paid for, you can save a lot. After 4 years in the service, you do cross-country course, you get undergraduate degree, and then you save enough money to do your master's degree. So you didn't have to get loan, you didn't have to ask your parents, and you get trained also. So this option is also there. Having said that, China has 3 million PLA soldiers and militias. We are 6 million people. I'm not saying fighting will not serve its purpose. I'm not saying that. But challenges are many, and how we should go about doing things. But do we have usefulness for people trained in different ways? Yes, we must be trained. And our country, if we regain our country, we need all kinds of people, including well-trained, Canadian-trained army personnel as well. So if you can get a training, you should get training. Yes, sure is important now. Again, because the number of support we get around the world, all the groups says, first they are Buddhist, then they are Tibet supporters.
there are very few Tibet supporters who are not Buddhist. So religion and spirituality is our strength. We must use it to strengthen our movement. And then strengthen all other things, non-religious stuff, if we can. We must. So we must strengthen every aspect of our resources. Spirituality, non-spiritual, anything. Okay? And together, we should march forward and do the best we can. Right? You all made me stand for 3 hours. My goodness. I'm not Sikyong, okay? Because didn't vote for me, I'm not obligated to stand for 3 hours. 1 hour, maybe not 3 hours. But as a Kangjemba, as a Tibetan, more questions I get, more interested I get, more engaged I get. It's not me, my position, or something is coming inside me. What is coming? Me, my Tibetan consciousness. My responsibility as a Tibetan was coming up. So I didn't feel the pain. So yesterday I danced for 2 hours. My feet hurt. Now I stood for 3 hours. I remember Toronto for the pain that has been caused to my feet. So I better go swim and steam and sauna, whatever needs to heal my legs, because I have to teach at Harvard Law School and I have to stand a lot in coming months. So with that note, so good to see you all and all the best. Please do well and we will keep marching forward. Okay?
Thank you very much. 아니 쇼기 나머지 먼저 비자 자리치요. 그리고 추다 아무도 설마대요. 쇼기 주기는 이.
얘만 쓸래 얘. 잠깐만 기다려. 잠깐만. 예. 네. 그룹 포토 스튜던트님도. announce the student group photos. Student group photos. Then you has to stand again. Kuke kile shash.
먼저 그룹 쇼게지 먼저 그룹
야 쇼게지 뭐
저기 있어요. 나부터야 찍찍찍 빨리 잡되나 수주가스하게 주주 숨내가 야 랑체 나부터 먹고 나오래 연주도 주주 찍기지 랑투가 좀 들어가서 I don't think it's fair, so let's do a group picture, whoever's interested. And then I think Sujugalasage needs a little bit of rest, and we'll escort him out from the facility.
다시. क्या शाह शेंगे तो शू लग तस्ले पर कुंडल टे जगह तस्ले ओ तस्ले ये बैकग्राउंड डिश आओ यार सर ये आ गया ओके sure
That's all. Please feel free to have some pizzas, get some drinks.
Yeah.
We should the youth number eat. I know.
Mare de diablo liye de. Mar ring bu ja. 엔데 잔나 딕서 디야도 세갈 태고로 세갈 태 얘들이 쉬쉬 정말 까만지
The best Sanjichak for your right, for the Tibetan cause, to Jishe.
안남랭게 조상게캡라 탄다데 september 니모델라타 캐나다 자용라 코라게 리샤디 인데 잠발 케란토 셴데 강 마마나로 나스체 코란라 벤조고 토네 갑교 항상 망부 고도
That was a group.
상게캡 탄다 디 september라 아니 캐나다 자용 코란 나와 숨링가라 코라게 리샤로아 디 인데 잠발 상게캡라 인치 멘치 벤조고 토네 갑교 치고도 세갈 단도조 공침보 쉬우던데 동나 추 말씀드린데 레샤 아니 세갈 탭자인데 이나니 룽바 개용 그런 꼬라 개라 깔레 갖고 차기도 디 인지 잠발라 인지 민지 투지시 참매게 될 갑교 치료 체제디 베규셔에
And the guidance from Sister Mata Sangila. So please feel free to enjoy your pizzas and drinks.
Radio free shit. 파절도. Yeah. Screenshot.
That's a good idea.
People can screenshot it. 한번 봐줘. You should jump in. Jump in. Fast. Just go. Nie, screenshot działał. Jedź. One year. Okay, dish. 용도 패다. 얘 되네 스크린샷네. 빨리 되다. 불안한다 브릿지는 소벨 내가 지금. 길래.
로줄 빠져.
One photo, please. 실수로 재워지 dance다 레이다. 왜요? 됐나요?
야구 수이나 까미치 깨지.
시수저 따디네 주 타마이라 아니 간다 네 주 타마이 따단다 초요냐 나도 전주에 내리 부치나이리야 동네 숙심부 신나는 갑수나야 계신데 가진이 들는 주제 시수초네 우리sam은 부치기단 대회 토할이야 내가 해서 매매 하여 언디 비저다 이 내가 치주가 해주대 세운다 텔 산에 비마 소리야 우치 갈록다고 그렇게
I guess the 미망 좀 시다 주야 직동 프랑스 얘기 좀 비디오 강의 시야에 좀
It's me. Me? Thank you. Ni de live da.
The video name. I guess the manga is real to the
So tell me qu'est-ce qui s'y n'a juge. Là ça. 주. Cara şeyler mi Allah? Şey, alele. Ya ta. Ta dende ro jin sar ta. Tari an dine ma che ningu gyabla ta. Dine ma nga de tokto do ji kasan lega chingye chogi che do yang tokto do ji chadi chi yu sar. Di indi zambala wonde la doyi. Ani ya ta nenge to ani ta pe ya go cha so ro tarindela. 지당기 디 추즈칙다 체가스 추즈칙네 찍다 체가스 봐도 이게 아니 디레 제림도 오지레 이네 대 직 도난 침보체 티워 망고 땅 지도 좀 발로 쉔게 저거 티워 망고 땅 지도 좀 발로 시술초 아니 제가 추즈 숨스 찍다 카투 상상가라마 마추네 마슌 추즈 숨스 델라 샹네 아니 레인 갭송 티와 약보도 아니 티와 디 땅초다 디 땅 마초 쳔네 면도 가인스나 Pet Kura Kari Tenwa Sangma and Della Lane Tapshi Chison Ya Samalo Sering Kasho, let me get dash the layer by.